Welcome to the Wealth Genius Podcast, brought to you by the Expand Wealth Real Estate Fund. Expand your wealth by investing in apartment buildings. Go to expandwealthfund.com to book your info session. The Wealth Genius Podcast, strategies for multifamily real estate investing, mindset, community, success. The Wealth Genius Podcast with your host, the godfather of real estate, Alfonso Cuadra, who has expansive experience in business and massive success as a real estate investor. The Wealth Genius Podcast. Let's dive into today's episode.
Rolling. JG, what's going on?
How you doing, buddy?
You know what I find really interesting? Out of all the time that we have been in this industry, we haven't really connected much.
Mm-hmm.
We met via our good friend Patrick.
Yep, that's right.
And, I guess our circles, I know of you. I knew of you, but we are kind of our paths never met, really.
We're both very busy, so yeah, we're both running.
Yeah, but you know what I love is when you get to meet someone new, you get to know all about them. And I'm excited to find out about you, how you got started. I know you've been running for a while.
Yep.
I know you've been busy for a while, so you do a lot of things. And so let's get into that.
Sure. Well, I don't know where you want to start, but, I'll go right back to the beginning. How's that sound?
Yeah, I'm here. I got my. You
got your
water,
coffee. You're good to go. So essentially, a lot of people know me as real estate investor because I've done a lot of speaking around real estate. Yeah. But really, I'm an entrepreneur turned real estate investor. At the beginning of the day, I was an entrepreneur first.
Yeah.
And I built and sold 6 different companies. And I've been an entrepreneur, and I've actually never really had a job. I left university. I started my first company, and that led to a series of entrepreneurial ventures. Some I sold, some I merged, some didn't work altogether. But all along the way, I learned from incredible mentors. I'm so blessed I have such awesome mentors. But one thing I learned is that they really, as an entrepreneur, sometimes you make a lot of money, but you have to invest that money wisely. And I've seen a lot of people over the years earn a lot of money, but not invest that money. And at the end of the day, they didn't have very much left. And I thought to myself, I got to make sure I don't do that. That's what actually brought me to real estate. So I started looking into real estate, and at first I was just an entrepreneur, and I just had one property. And by the way, when I first started, people think that you need money to do real estate. As you know, it's a common misconception, right? Like, you need a lot of money to do real estate. Well, that's not true at all. I didn't even have enough money to do my first deal. I had to do a vendor take back to do my first deal to get into real estate. That wasn't that many years ago. So the point there is I took that, I leveraged that, and then I grew that into the real estate portfolio I have today. And then I took my entrepreneurialism into real estate. And then I founded Vistra Property Group. And now Vistra Property Group is a sizable real estate management company, construction company, renovation company. So now we're vertically integrated. So that's kind of like I've just essentially described 15 years in a nutshell there.
Well, I can definitely identify with the story because it's almost like a very similar story without the university.
Yeah.
Right. So I decided not to go down that traditional route and I went right to being an entrepreneur. And I learned a lot. That was my university, being a business.
It's called
person.
The University of Hard Knocks.
And so, what did you go to school for?
Business.
Business.
Yes.
Okay, so you already knew you wanted to be in business. That's interesting.
So my gosh, now you really want to take me back. So that's cool. I'm happy to go back there. When I left high school, so one of the things people don't know is that I used to race motocross.
Wow.
And I love
like a motorcycle.
Yeah, motocross racing. Jumping,
those high jumps.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
Yeah, so I used to race motocross, and the idea was, and frankly, I knew I wasn't good enough to compete professionally at that, but I really love the sport. So I said to myself, JG, you need a plan here. So my thought, and this was my master plan at the beginning, 17 years old. I left the house and I was just 18. I think I was 2 months after 18. I left the house. My plan was go to business school, college, which I did, and learn business so I can start my own race team.
Wow.
That was the thought. And I did that. And well, I didn't start a race team, but I went to college, learned about business, took a business entrepreneurship course there, and loved it. Fell in love with business and truly found my passion, like found my calling in life. I was like, wow, business was it. And then I realized that, I had these entrepreneurial tendencies the whole time. Like I used to have a little bike repair shop. And, I was that kid that
very industrious.
Yeah, I was, and I didn't see it at that time. But man, I fell in love with business, and I did really well at college. I did really well in that, and that's where my entrepreneurial tendency started.
Did you do some business while you were in university?
Yeah, absolutely.
What was that? I'm so interested in those kind of projects. I met someone that got 4 or 5 toasters and was selling grilled cheese sandwiches out of his dorm room. And everybody came by grilled cheese sandwiches for $2.
Yeah.
So what was that first what was the first venture?
So in business school, and I went to Sault College in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, Northern Ontario. What I did is I wrote business plans, and I would charge people to write business plans for them. I was very good. I understood the business planning process really, really well.
That must have been a while back. Before templates.
100%. Gosh, Microsoft Word was just coming out back then. We were barely out of the DOS, Microsoft DOS days. So I used to write business templates. I used to write business plans specifically, and we would join business plan competitions, and there was prize money to this. And we ended up winning a ton of dough, buddy. Like a ton of dough. Like, I mean, when you're in college and you're winning $30,000, $40,000 business plan competitions, it's a lot of money. And then what's fascinating though is we were writing these business plans. One in particular, I'll always remember, I had a team of 3. I wrote the business plan, and I was kind of the marketing guy, and I wrote the business plan, the business planner. We had a guy who's kind of an engineering type, and then we had another guy who's kind of like a sales type. And we created together, and I didn't come up with the idea. They came up with the idea of creating this automotive product, which was brilliant. Well, it turns out we wrote a business plan on this. We won $20,000 or $30,000 on this, and that product ended up getting made. It ended up going into the Moog magazine, ended up getting created. It was just such a cool experience.
Wow.
And that was kind of the beginning of that. And then once I finished college, then I went to university because I thought I was, at that point, and you'll appreciate this, Alfonso, I was still struggling with what my family wanted me to do versus what I wanted to do in life. I was still a young man. I was just over 19, barely 20. I don't even think I was 20. Went to university, and I thought that would be my path. I would go to university and then follow kind of that corporate path. Went to university essentially on a 4-year Bachelor of Commerce degree, and I think it was 6 months before graduating. I was just so fed up. I had started my other company by that point, which was a health and wellness business, and we were doing so well, and we were killing it. And I thought to myself, I was learning these things in school, and I was thinking, in business class, and I was thinking, this isn't how it works out there in real life. I'm out there in real life. So then I started kind of pushing back on the system, if you will. I started pushing back and challenging the professors. And then I found out, holy shit, they don't have any experience. They've never done this. They're just researchers. And then I just completely got disenfranchised with the whole university concept, that whole thing. I quit. I went out on my own, and I never looked back.
When was the moment in business, as you're starting these companies, where you said to yourself, okay, I can actually sustain myself? And the reason I ask you that is because when I started in business, I was like, how long can I keep this open for?
Totally.
Right? And I wasn't even thinking about making a living out of it. I'm like, I want to just keep the doors open, keep the business. That was my first business, how can I keep that going?
Yep.
And I'll never forget it. I booked a flight, an all-inclusive, and I must have been 20 years old, and I booked my first resort all-inclusive vacation that I booked for myself with all of my own money. And I remember thinking, okay, I feel like an adult. I'm adulting here,
Yep.
And I remember feeling this sense of accomplishment, in a sense, and it's such a small thing, but there's this moment that I think a lot of entrepreneurs have when they start a business, or when they get into business, where you say to yourself, "Whoa, I can actually make a living out of this."
I remember the moment you're talking about. So I sold a company. So what happened was I had one business going, and I found out years later, and it was actually just like recently, like a year ago, someone said to me, JG, do you realize you probably have like ADD or ADHD or one of those things? And I'm like, no. And then I talked to my dad about this. I said, Dad, someone said this, and he's like, oh, you for sure do. I've always known. I just never told you. And but I've always had multiple businesses on the go. By the way, I've since the beginning, I've always had 2 to 3 companies on the go at once. Right now, I had 5. That was my most. Right now, I got 3. But in that time, at the beginning, I had one health and wellness company going, and we were scaling it. We went from 0 to 3,000 clients, what appeared like overnight.
Wow.
We scaled up. We had 20 employees. It was going really well, but it was scaling, so I wasn't really taking money out of that business, so to speak. So I wasn't like making a living, if you will, So I still wasn't sure if I was going to make it. Yeah. But then my other company, which I sold it, and at this point, I had, and when I sold it, I sold half of it, and I think I sold it for like low 6 figures, like $120K or something like that. So I had a bit of money in the bank, so to speak, and it was in that moment that I was like, oh, I think I can make this go now. I think, I had enough cushion. I had never had cushion. Shit, forget cushion. I was always behind the 8 ball, if you will. My first company, we funded on credit card debt, by the way. We only had $1,000. We had no cash left, no money left. We were in student debt over our eyeballs, $40,000 or $50,000, if I remember right. And I had $1,000 left on a credit card, and I invested $800 of the $1,000 into a particular product for this health and wellness business. So that was it. That's all I had left, and that's what started the whole journey.
What I love about your story is I resonate so much with it. I mean, even talking about having multiple businesses and, I do have ADHD, and I have a lot of things going at the same time, which I think a lot of entrepreneurs kind of, and if you have these, I call it a superpower. If you have this special superpower, it does help you become an entrepreneur, because you're not, in terms of leadership, you tend not to micromanage people. You enlist people that can do their job, and you allow them to grow and build and go through the ups and downs, and then they come back with a result. So tell me about your leadership path, because you're having multiple things, and it just came to my mind. It's like that was my path. The biggest hurdle was the hurdle of allowing other people to do things, and if I was going to be this entrepreneur with multiple things going on at the same time, you got to develop leadership. And so, what was that path for you?
So my path is, I've been at this for just under 20 years now, so my path has changed. And what I used to be good at, I've had to change and grow over the years, right? Like, I used to be a very good integrator. What I mean by that is, one of my largest company to date is a company we started from a basement, a partner and I, and we scaled it to 14 different countries. We had 174 employees in 14 different countries. And to scale that, I was the integrator. He was the face of the company. He was the master in sales and marketing, and I was the integrator. I was the CEO, and essentially I managed the entire company. And
so the integrator, that's interesting, because usually the CEO is not the integrator.
Yes, that was very odd.
You're the ops person.
In that case, I was very good at it.
Yeah.
I'm not that anymore. So at Vistra Property Group now, it's a large business. It's, we manage, a lot of real estate. We manage a ton of construction. We have a lot of moving parts to it. I'm not the integrator. I'm the CEO. But
Are you a natural integrator?
No.
Okay,
no.
yeah. So like the book Rocket Fuel, talks about
Love
people
that.
in the wrong,
right.
being in the wrong roles.
And that's one of the things we've done with Vistra as we've scaled and grown. It's like I knew we needed an integrator, so we brought in some integrators. We found some phenomenal people. One of them, our operations manager, Jason. He's been an incredible addition to the team. And I worked closely at Vistra. I worked closely with my dad, who I founded the company with back in 2012. And he's an integrator. And Jason's an integrator. So I surround myself with integrators because I know I'm not that guy anymore.
Yes.
But I used to be. And I played that role as an integrator for almost 10 years to scale that one company called Black Card. but I'm not that guy anymore. And now, but that's been part of my journey. You talk about a journey. That's been part of my journey is to change and grow into a new role that is needed for the company.
So you went from being an integrator, realizing that you were not in the right position.
Correct.
Transitioning to a visionary.
Yep.
And being the face of the company, and learning how to delegate and count on other integrators.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, when I learned how to delegate as an integrator. Mm-hmm. And because me and my former partner at Black Card, he was the visionary and I was the integrator. I learned so many great skills, and I learned I wasn't a natural integrator, so I had to learn to be a great integrator, and I did a good job at it. But now you're absolutely right. Now I'm a visionary. That is my natural home state. That's where I like to be, and now I just surround myself with great integrators, and then they call it. They call it cleaning up JG's mess, which is my visionary work creates messes for them, but that's what moves the company forward.
I think we resonate very much.
Yeah, you and I are the same.
They call me the Tasmanian devil.
Yeah.
That's like, okay, so real estate.
Yeah.
So now you go through this massive entrepreneurial journey.
Mm-hmm.
And how did you get into real estate?
So it was So first of all, actually, something that I never tell people, but I'll say it here for the first time ever, I used to hate real estate. I was actually vehemently against real estate. I thought the best place for my capital was in my business.
I agree.
And for from 2006 to 2011, I didn't do any real estate. I didn't own any real estate. I rented. I leased all my buildings. There was no real estate. I didn't want to put a dime into real estate. I didn't think it was the way to go. But like I said, I kept seeing my mentors and I kept seeing people, and they, after their business had either done well or done not well, and by the way, that's a cycle. You've seen a lot of people that were geniuses in 2022. Boy, are they struggling today with what we've went through. So I noticed that, through these ebbs and flows of business, if you don't have a base to rely on, and that's what I realized is, real estate can be that base. Real estate could be that asset. Real estate could be that foundation we rely on in good times and in bad times, especially in bad times. So it was like 2010, 2011, I started looking into real estate, and just started with one building. And I didn't at the time, this is just in my business career, that was at the time when we were going global, so to speak, in my one company. So I was fully committed to that business. I was scaling from a Canadian company to a company in 14 countries. I had all my eggs in that basket. There was no money left for anything. I had there's a little nest egg in my savings account just for ourselves. It was $30,000, and that's all I had in there. And that wasn't enough to do a full deal back then. So I had to do a VTB to do my first deal, and that's where it all got started. And then that led to a second building and a third building.
Now,
that was 2012.
So for the people that are listening to this, we're talking about seller financing.
Yeah.
And I remember, 2002, 2001, getting involved in real estate and hearing about this word seller financing.
Yeah.
And I didn't have any money. I didn't have a way of qualifying. So I was like, okay, I like this, right? And so then I went and talked to a lot of people, and they're like, no, that doesn't work in Canada. That's a U.S. strategy. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And I remember, I had this book exactly where I read it. I ended up walking around with this book, and anytime someone would tell me this thing doesn't work, I'm like, it says so right here in this book. And so how did you learn about vendor take back? And, because it's your first deal, how do you get to a point where you can even negotiate a vendor take back? That's a concept that's kind of like outside of the norm of what people understand or know. That's
a great question. So first of all, I have a deep love for the Real Estate Investment Network because that's where I started, and I read Don Campbell's book, like everyone else, Real Estate Investing in Canada, and I think I learned it from there, if I remember right.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those books that I was walking around with.
Yeah, exactly, right? So I think I learned the tactic from there, and by that, I've had such great mentors along the way. One of the things one of my mentors taught me was, you may not know all the steps, but at least if you know the next step, at least take that next step. So, Patrick Francie often says, I'm the guy who jumps out of a plane and builds a parachute on the way down. And, that's kind of true. But how I got there was I don't know all the steps, and I'm comfortable not knowing all the steps. By the way, this was like I didn't come out of the chute like this. Like I trained myself to be like this. I may not know all the steps, but I know the next step. And I remember at the time, I didn't know how to do a VTB, and I didn't know how to negotiate it. But I knew, well, first we need a deal. So let's go out. We found a building that was going to work for us, and it was a business. It was a mixed-use commercial residential building. Found that building, put in an offer, got everything through, good. Had a couple conditions on there, fantastic. And then I came back and said, okay, I got to add a condition about a vendor take-back. And everyone was really pissed off because I was adding conditions after the deal. I said, well, guys, I don't have quite enough cash to do this deal. So if you want to do this, and it happens that building was on the market for quite some time, so they were open to it. So there was no like master grand plan. There was no master strategy.
How many units?
Just 2 units.
2 units.
One big commercial, one big residential.
And so now you have tenants.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so that in itself, it's a concept that a lot of people, you go from. So I remember having employees, right?
Yeah.
So that was the first obstacle of learning, right? How to manage these employees, and making that transition in real estate from being an entrepreneur into real estate, knowing business, knowing how business works, and now you got these tenant/clients, right? And tell me about that.
Well, so at that particular time, I felt just like you, but keep in mind that because I had learned from the Real Estate Investment Network, from Don Campbell, from Patrick Francie, I felt like I had a track record. Like not that I had a track record, I had a track to run on. Just like you said, well, look, the book says I can do it, therefore I can do it. I kind of had that. I had the acre binders, and I had that. That's what's brilliant about the Wealth Genius and these types of organizations. It's just like it gives people hope, and it gives people a path to run on that they may not know how to do it. And I did the exact that. And I often say from stage, many times publicly, like I'm a product of the product. I'm sitting here today because I did exactly what people that are in the audience are trying to do. And so I never was scared about tenants. I knew we'd have problems. I knew we'd run into tenants and toilets and issues and problems. But you know what? There's a solution to all of that, and I was okay with it. So, we just jumped in head first. And I really, the same way, Alfonso, and this is, social media doesn't help today. YouTube is incredible, and internet is incredible, but it doesn't help people because in one way, which is people end up being too smart for their own good. Just like when you're a parent, and I'm not, but the most parents will tell you they didn't know what the hell they were getting into. And that was a good thing. Because if they knew what they were getting into, they probably wouldn't have done it. So it's like that with real estate. You shouldn't know too much about what you're getting into. Yeah. You should know enough to avoid the big risks and protect yourself. Yeah. But you really got to just dive in and figure it out as you go.
Yeah. Patrick, a good friend Patrick, he the other day he's telling me, he goes, take on more than you can chew, and chew like hell.
That's right. That's right.
I love that. So where are we now? Where's the business now? What are you doing? I know you're excited about these ADUs. Yeah. Tell me like kind of where the company is now, and what's going on.
I spend most of my time. So I said I got at least 3 businesses. It's actually more like, anyways, there's 3 big groups of businesses. I still have a health and wellness business. I own a spa with my wife. I don't spend any time there. She does everything. I own a marketing agency.
What? There's no massage there?
Oh, for sure. I'm like the number one client, but they do all the work, and they run an incredible business, and they do incredible things. I own a marketing agency, and I have a phenomenal partner on that side, and we do great things for a lot of clients across the country. But I spend the bulk of my time with Vistra Property Group, and it's not that I'm excited about ADUs. It's not the ADUs I'm excited about. What I'm excited about is most people say, I can't find cash flow, and I'm saying, don't try to find cash flow, create the cash flow. And this is the way to create the cash flow right now. Yeah. See, there's no point. Like, I'm agnostic to the tactic. I really don't care. If you believe in real estate, you really just got to find the best tactic at the right time in the right market. And right now is a phenomenal time to be doing ADUs in this market because of some of the laws that have changed recently in Ontario specifically. So that's why I'm excited about it. And I got to say, in 2 years from now, the laws might change. And 2 years from now, the opportunity might
Yeah.
change. And I
But
might
it's
be
there
saying something
right now.
different.
Yeah.
It's there right now. So,
Yeah.
you know, and you speak a lot about, you know, multifamily, and there's some phenomenal opportunities there, especially in the U.S., you know, all over the place. And that's great. The game I'm playing right now is ADUs because it's a huge opportunity for the right people.
I agree, and I know that, you know, where the price of housing is today, the average person, you know, even if you have a two income household, might not be able to realize that dream of owning your own house or having a property. And so having the support of additional units that can help you pay for that, you know, larger mortgage, gives you the ability to create equity, build equity, and hedge against inflation and all of that. And at some point, you may want to, you know, take the money out of that property and buy your own your dream home or what have you, you know. And so this is something that I encourage a lot of young people to get into, you know, and figure out how to do it. You know, maybe partner up with someone else or another family or whatever, and take a property and add additional units and figure out how to have multiple families under one roof. The municipalities for it, they want density, and so
can change, by the way. That can change. It's like that today.
Oh, for sure.
But that can change. It wasn't like that all the time, and I expect it's going to change into the future. But right now, the opportunity's there. And you know, Alfonso, you asked about my past, and one of the things that people don't realize is I've done well in real estate, not as well as you, but I've done well in real estate only because I've never had a mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
I've always had a suite in my house.
Someone else paying.
I just built my dream house, and it's a good size house. Let's just say that. But I have a suite in it, so I've never paid for my own mortgage. And anytime you can organize your finances where you don't have a mortgage, you have a lot of extra cash flow you can do things with.
Absolutely.
And the average person can do this too. You don't need to be a multimillionaire. You don't need to earn hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. You need to organize yourself properly. And this ADU concept allows that. It's always been possible with the secondary suites. It's been like that for about 15 years. And that was a great idea. Now the ADU, adding a third ADU on top of that, that is a game changer. And in many places, it's 4 units, like in Hamilton.
Yeah.
It's 4 units. And that's
so you
incredible.
can take 1 into 4.
You can take 1 into 4.
So tell me what am I looking for when I'm going through these houses?
So what we're looking for, and the game plan we're doing right now, is we take a single-family home, we put a suite in the basement, and then we build an ADU in the back. And an ADU, we call it a coach home at Visture. This, and is very important, this is what I'm going to speak about this weekend, is this is not a tiny home. Mm-hmm. These are 800, 900, 1,000. I've even built a 1,400 square foot ADU, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. I mean, these are primo rentals. This is a premium rental. So doing a proper ADU and a proper coach house, as I call it, will do 3 things for you. Number 1, it'll unlock cash flow. You'll take a negative cash flow single-family home into a positive cash flow 3-unit building. And you're going to go from negative, like a single-family home on average in the markets I operate in is typically cash flow negative like $500 to $700 a month. You can turn that into a cash flow positive $1,300 a month by doing this tactic, number 1. Number 2, you're now compounding and you're now growing your wealth, not by the value of that single-family home, but you're now compounding that wealth by the value of the entire 3 units, which is typically on average somewhere between $50,000 and $70,000 per year. So now you're growing your wealth by 50 to 70 grand per year by not doing anything. This is just the market working in your favor. That's the second thing you're doing. And the third thing you're doing is you're setting yourself up for the future. You're banking that real estate so that in the future you do take that equity out and then you can build your dream house. You can send your kids to university. You can retire your parents. You can move to El Salvador. You can do those things you want to do. So it creates financial freedom. And the biggest misconception is you do not need to do 100 of these. You don't have to be Alfonso. You don't have to be JG. You don't have to be Patrick Francoeur. You don't have to be Don Campbell. You don't have to do this 100 times for it to make a huge difference in your life. You only need to do it once or twice. And if you do it 3 times, it's a game changer.
I love it so much. JG, we got to know each other.
Yeah, it was awesome.
You know, it's been incredible, and I'm looking forward to this weekend. For context, you know, if you're listening to this, we're at the Expand weekend here at the Western Harbor Castle, and we're shooting the podcast just before the weekend, and you're gonna rock the stage, my friend.
Excited.
And you know, looking forward to more friendship.
Yeah,
looking forward to getting
absolutely.
to know you more. Now that I really, really know you, I could say that you know, we're very much alike, and that's pretty interesting. You know, it's funny because, you know, when I started to get to know Patrick, you know, we started to head it off, and you headed off with him. Maybe there's something there. I don't know.
Who knows?
Tres amigos, you know. So thank you. You know, just before we go, I always want to know what inspires you. What's something that a mantra, a quote, or something that you live by?
Helping people live richer lives.
Love it. JG in the house. Alfonso loves you, and we'll see you at the top. Thank you. We made that announcement. Someone must have caught it. Someone must have been listening. Where's the next Expand?
Thanks for listening to the Wealth Genius Podcast, presented in part by Expand Investor Conference, this May 16th to 18th in Edmonton, Alberta. Get your tickets now at wealthgenius.ai/expand, and we'll see you at the top.